You want to move deals through the pipeline faster. You don't want them to stall and hang out and you're not making money from them. This 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 simple concept absolutely will help you with that. Check it out. Hey everyone, welcome to another great episode of the Sales Evangelist podcast. I'm your host, Donald C. Kelly, the Sales Evangelist, and I'm so excited for another great episode. I'm so excited to be here with you today. On this episode, we have the one and only Mr. Brian Town coming from the great state of Michigan, that 313. Actually, he's probably not in that 313 area code. That's for Detroit. But Brian and I got a chance to connect about our, experience living in Michigan. Brian runs an organization, a marketing firm up there, and works with a lot of major organizations, helping them to be able to get visibility to their brand. In addition to that, Brian is an author, wrote an amazing book. He's going to talk to you about that. But most importantly, Brian is a seller, and he's been there. He's been through the Costco line, buying toilet paper and running the organization, as well as selling, because he's the number one salesperson for his organization, just like I am. You are in the same position where you're selling. The challenge that we find is that oftentimes when we're selling as sales professionals, we come across deals that are not progressing. And what is holding those deals back? Right now, we can tell you we see that more than ever. And on this episode, Brian's going to give you what he feels is a secret, and I wholeheartedly believe in it as well, to helping those deals move through the pipeline faster. If this is your first time listening to our podcast, thank you. And you're doing something good for you and for us. I want you to subscribe, because we're going to notify you every time we have a new piece of content. Additionally, this episode, like all of our episodes, are designed to do two things. One, to help you build your pipeline with quality opportunities. And two, help you to be able to move deals throughout the pipeline faster. And this one is going to deliver on that. Listen, we're going to go ahead and dive in. And I hope that you get as much from this as I do. And now, what I would like for you to do after this episode is listen for one piece of advice that you can apply and see if you can apply it in the next week or so and help some of these deals. Let's check it out. Brian, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Donald. I appreciate it, man. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm looking forward to this conversation, because it's not only like, it's selfish of me to run a podcast, right? We select who we're going to have on a show.
Yep.
And also with that is the topics that we find engaging, but also our clients are talking about. And one of them right now that's truly relevant, I've had conversations after conversations about it. It's, bro, I need to close more deals. I need to move stuff down the pipeline. It's harder. It's tough. People are not buying as much. Whatever, you name it. How do we get past that stuck? How do we get these deals moving? So I'm really excited to pick your brain on that. But before we do that, I know you, but these folks out here don't know you. So I'd love for you to take a second and tell us a little bit more about you, Brian, and what you do.
Yeah, man. I'm just an old marketing guy trying to make it happen here in Michigan.
Oh, whatever.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, I'm a CEO. I'm a trainer. I'm a coach. And so I'm a CEO of Michigan Creative. We're a national marketing firm based in Michigan, obviously. We do everything from brand guides and brand strategy to video production and websites. I do a lot of fractional marketing consultant, and I'm also, as the CEO, I'm the top salesman here. And also have to buy toilet paper at some point today, before all my girls get mad at me. So like all you business owners out there and salespeople, like, you know what I'm talking about. So just having that conversation today with my staff, we had our staff state of the company meeting today, and talking to them about, hey, you can all do sales. Like, you're all part of this team. We want you to do sales. There's commission for you. You don't have to, but and how tough. And I basically says, look, sales is tough.
Yeah.
It's one of the toughest things you're ever going to do. And I want you to get as many no's as you possibly can right away. But can't let that beat you, because you're going to get more no's than you're going to get yeses. And so it's tough. And especially as an owner and a salesperson, that's my number one job is to bring those high level deals in. So I have to get refreshed a lot.
And I find it fascinating. You mentioned that, everyone in the organization is in sales. And I think, especially when you're, a startup or a small company, by the way, I'll meet you at Costco to get a tour.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be my job too.
Yeah. And I have a large female staff. I'll just say
that. There's this idea though, like of when you can find people that are collectively a part of a vision, or about, they want to have that same impact on the community or society as a whole. it makes it very easy for them to become desirous to sell, even if they don't necessarily see themselves as salespeople. They see themselves as this, of a promoter of the cause,
Yeah.
of the mission. And I think you're right when it comes towards getting people engaged in sales. They get that no, like you get those no's that from the very beginning. You understand, but you get that their sales is one of those things. You have this weird euphoria. If I get 50 no's, it could suck, but if I got that one yes, that 51, it's like, oh man,
I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. Yeah. Forget about all everything else. Look what I got. Yeah.
But like I remember the first time, and I don't know we're going to go into something deeper here, but it's like when I remember the first deal where no one knew me. When I went on my own, Brian, I launched a podcast, and it was back in 2012, 2013. Jose Diaz was somebody that I knew. He and his wife, Martha, they saw my stuff and they started hitting me up. If I could help them out. I was a software sales rep, so I just took them on as a client. I was making money. I was like, this is great. This is awesome.
Look at this.
But then Katie Henderson, I was in at a conference for work in Tallahassee, and she hit me up and she wanted to get coaching. Bro, I was like, this is a stranger that I don't know, that know nothing about me besides the podcast. And we started that conversation. And that was the first deal that I brought in with somebody I didn't know for my own business. That feeling, oh my goodness.
I mean, I just had somebody leave here just now. I kind of had to kick him out because I'm like, I got to get on the super famous guys podcast, and I'm like, I can't miss it because he's gonna hang up on
Come
me.
on.
And he was like, oh my God, I'll get out of here. But yeah, like that like it's a potential right now for a large, some video and some statewide work that we could do that's really I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
And like that was a huge win. Like it made my day.
Yeah.
And we don't even know if we're going to get it. All I know is that I was, I believed in what I was selling. I knew that my team could do it. Yeah. I was confident that it was going to work. And so I wasn't even really selling. I was just listening to him tell a story, and we didn't get to the potential big deal until the end.
Yeah. And that's remarkable. Like I know that feeling.
Because it didn't happen. Like I didn't pitch him anything really until the very end. Cause I didn't know, I knew him a little bit. I didn't know what he needed. And then finally he started to really talk about some things. And I'm like, what if we partnered with all your chapters in the state and everybody kind of pooled their money together? You could have a video and a website and a landing page, and we could build this whole thing that even up in the UP, they could use it and it wouldn't cost them as much. And he was like, man, we've got all this extra money coming in. And I'm like, all right, that worked, and I think the reason, the thing that I found in confidence in selling is the belief, that simple belief in yourself and your team that you can deliver. I think to me is the biggest thing that makes the difference, because it's really, really hard. And I've been there when our team, a few years ago, our website process, I didn't like it. It just was a mess. And I don't know, it just was a mess, and we were still doing them, whatever. But when we were selling websites, then I remember feeling not as confident, and they can tell, man, they can tell, they know. I mean, your prospects know right away.
Yeah, no, I feel like there's what you mentioned to me in that story was the idea of stories. And it goes back to that age-old idea. We are able to connect and we're able to visualize so much more when we can get a story. And it also allows for this person to really connect with you on that, subhuman level, so to speak. Like we go way back. It's like the heart's connecting here because we're telling stories back and forth, and it just helps us to be engaged. But it also helps to demonstrate your capabilities. And then obviously you can talk business later on, fine tune that. But I think sometimes people miss that, and we just want to go straight into it. And which definitely leads to the conversation today, like why we have these bloated pipeline and deals that are not closing. What do I need to do to not feel so stuck when it comes to closing more deals? And I would love to pick your brain on this.
Yeah. And I think there's two things we've talked about, a lot of them. And I think it's that confidence in yourself. And I think, talking to a lot of entrepreneurs and coaching entrepreneurs is that's a big deal right now, is like, I think we're all kind of in this place now where there's so much going on that outside of our control. Right. And the economy's uncertain maybe, and we don't know why people aren't closing deals. And so we start to get a lot unsure of ourselves. And so, one of the things that I always like to do is to go back to those moments like today, like that story I just told you. Like, I don't know if that deal's going to close. But I also know that I did a similar thing 6 months ago, and we're, that deal closed and we're doing really, really good work. And so I like to go back into who I was in that moment. I know it sounds really dumb, but I like to picture like who I was in that moment and the things that I said and the head nods that I got and the reasons why they actually went with us. And I try to go back, because I think sometimes what we do is we try to tailor our pitch to very specific audiences, and you should do that, right? Because you're going to be pitching different services, whatever. But at the end of the day, people buy you, and they buy your passion, and they buy that. And I think we start to worry about our pipeline. I tell you the truth, I'm worried about my pipeline until he came in today. And what that does for you is it starts to make you question if you're actually doing a good job.
Yeah.
And I think for me, selling is all about self-confidence. And if I can get back into that, where I actually believe that what I'm saying is not BS, and it's not, and I believe that my team can handle the work that I'm pitching, and I know I can. I think that helps me. And then I also think looking at that pipeline for me is, what are the things that you didn't say or didn't provide to them to make them want to buy right away? And I think that goes back to, what is your brand? Not just as a salesperson. Like, I think we should talk about your personal brand as a salesperson, but also, what is your company's messaging and your company's brand and their promise? And is that resonating with that customer anymore? Or is it time to do something a little bit different?
So much in that. I want to go to the idea of, so go back to the concept of self-confidence, like in yourself and in what you have to offer. And then also the notion of like I feel that buyers can, so all the way back, sorry, there's a part that you mentioned which you say don't laugh, but I wouldn't laugh because it's legit. I smiled because you're talking about going back to a previous experience and then recalling that experience while you're in the moment.
Yes.
This is called a flick back, flick up, and it's a psychological concept. So, and I taught it to my kid yesterday. He's 4.5, but he's like,
he's probably, get him on here. I bet he could sell me something.
But we partnered with a company called the Pacific Institute back in the pandemic, and it was one of our best selling partnership, where we were talking about mindset. What we discovered was a lot of salespeople didn't necessarily forget how to sell, but they lost their mojo during that time period, and we helped them with mindset. But interestingly enough, one of the concepts they teach is that flick back, flick up. So let's say, for instance, and I'll go back to my kid yesterday. We were playing t-ball in a driveway, and he was, he's doing pretty good, but then he started, not hitting the ball and missing and so forth. And then we went back, and my wife and I were sitting there with him. And I was like, okay, we need to visualize, what did it feel like when you did hit the ball that last time? Yeah. What was that motion like? What were you thinking? What were you saying? And we were saying, like, go back and flick back on that idea. Think about that in the moment now. And it's amazing how that does happen. So it's proven psychologically. It's that flick back. So you're doing it. No wonder why you're so good.
Well, it's so funny, because I love talking. I just told that to my staff. I have an app. I have a meditation app that I do. I have my morning routine. It's called Aura. And there's that very thing in there. And it talks about, he gets you, he works with a lot of professional athletes. Athletes do this all the time.
Yeah.
And professional athletes vision their perfect shot. I used to do it with my son, who was a really good high school football player. And he did it where he would visualize the entire game, and it works. And so this app kind of gets you, what it does is it has you go into that place, and it doesn't have to be a sales place. It can be, where were you at your very best? It could be a sporting event, could be a speech that you gave, could be, mine was, being out on Lake Superior with the kids. And I'm like, this is it. Like, that's when I feel my best. And so finding that moment where you've done a really good job, it could be a sales pitch, or finding when are you at your very best, when you're not worried about yesterday and you're not worried about tomorrow, but you're worried about nothing except that moment right there. And try that, and then start to visualize that and get into that moment when you're about to do that big pitch.
Oh, I love it, man.
It works. I mean, it works. And I think that's the thing. And I think I knew this because I remember going into a pitch that I was really nervous about. And I did it as before I went into the conference room, out in my car or whatever, just a little bit. And I just pictured that moment. And I could just tell that when I was talking about all these different marketing strategies to this large manufacturing company, which they're hard to get because they don't,
Yeah.
really see the value necessarily. I mean, I could tell that, I don't want to say they were believing the BS, because that's sometimes as salespeople, we think that's what we're delivering, but they could see the value in not just working with me, but also just by doing the things that I'm telling them to do.
Mm.
And they could see that I actually believed it, because I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on this, and this ties really close to the confidence, right? So with podcasting, we produce podcasts for other brands. It's our creative side of our business that we've developed. TSC Studios behind me here now, doing it for so long. I was on a call with a group. They have an existing podcast, and we're trying to get them to come to our company, right? So we can produce for them. And I met with a champion, and we were chatting. And then she brought everybody else in, like another meeting, and she was like, "All right, now you need to tell them all the same thing." And I was like, "Oh, great!" So I did. This was another day, and then one of the guys, he used some descriptive words that I can't say on the air, or I don't use this
Okay.
language anyways. But he was like, "This blank blank knows what he's talking about."
I love it. I love that. That's a term of endearment.
Yeah. But the thing was, because it's that passion, right? It's
Yeah.
something that you care about. And I think that's what, when you find that the deals are stuck, I think it has something to do with that, where it's not so much the confident in a product, because often, like in your case with this guy, you didn't even get to the product until the last few minutes of the conversation, right?
No, it was me.
Like, yeah, it's you. It's like that. So how do I get that? How do we get our teams to be like that? How do we get that to happen? What's your take on that? How can I sell that to them, so to speak?
Yeah, I think, I would love if every sales team, and I don't know if they do this or not, but if they do something sort of like that visualization, as picturing that time when they're feeling their best. And it could be even a sporting event that you did back in high school that you played. Sometimes I'll go back to my junior year in high school, because I remember this game like it was yesterday, right, man? And I just remember that feeling of my team members. And I remember like there was nothing we could do wrong. And I think having your team find that moment when they feel their best, and having them visualize that, and then take that same energy into that next sales, I think would be totally different. Because typically what we're going to do in those sales meetings is we're going to figure out, what their pains are, and which is all important. We're going to figure out what our messaging is, where can we come in? How do we listen better? How do we ask better questions? And I think those are all well and good, but I don't think anything matters if you don't have that piece in there that really gets somebody inspired to believe again that they are that top salesperson. I mean, it's a sport. Like, this, like, small business and sales is a tough, it's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife's a business owner. It's the hardest thing that we've ever done. And you got to be in shape. You got to be mentally in shape, and you got to be prepared, just like you would for the biggest game of your life.
I'm in the situation. I'm past this now. I did the wrong side of this. I didn't have confidence. I went in and just did the demo. I pitching the sale, the deal, right? Now I'm in a situation where the deal is stuck. How do I have that type of conversation and get it unstuck now, where, maybe they're hesitant about price, or they're hesitant about our capabilities. But I missed all of that. How can I recover from there?
Yeah. And I think that's really hard, because those ghosting clients are the ones that, that it's awful. Right. And so, like, you have to be persistent. That's one of the things. And I'm always not very comfortable in this, but I've just because I know where I want to scale the agency to. So I've said, look, man, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get this done. And so, we pick up the phone, we text, we email, we get on Zooms, we go in person, and we try to find out, specifically where that hesitation is, and asking those type of questions. And I think, to get that back kindled again, I think maybe you take a different approach and just rewrite kind of the approach that you have. And what I always like to say is like, hey, I took a look at this and I think I found a better way. And that message of, I think I found a better way. Because you got to remember that businesses don't make purchasing decisions. People make purchasing decisions.
One more time for the folks in the back.
So businesses don't purchase anything, right?
Yeah.
People purchase, people buy things from people. I'm not selling to the manufacturing company. I'm selling to the COO who hates marketing guys.
Yeah.
And And so I try to connect with him or her. And so remember that you're selling to a person. And I think a lot of times, your role is to make them look like a hero. And so if you can find a way for them to kind of picture in their mind, imagine this, that's a good exercise. Imagine if, we do this work, you buy this piece of machinery, it's out on the shop floor, or you buy this service and this software and everybody's working. I mean, imagine what that's going to look like for you. And then they start to think, because they've got someone else that they have to kind of, they're on the hook for, like, hey, I went with this guy. We believe that you decided to choose this team, and what are they doing for us? And so I think if you can remember that whoever you're selling to is just a person doing a job, and how can you make their life a little bit better? I think by re-looking at something, or have them relook at it, there might be a better way.
I love it. What if we were to go along this idea of you share me some of those questions? I love the idea of imagine if, or you thought of a better way, but I'm here. You got me as one of those ghosting clients. I did agree to come back and sit down and visit with you. You said, maybe asking some of those questions. Those can be uncomfortable to ask. The deal is stuck. What would you ask me at that point?
Yeah, this is hard, but now that I'm old, I don't care anymore. And so
your confidence now, right?
Yeah. And, at this point, if they're not going to go with me, how many times do I want to try to convince? So there is this point where you have to just call it, because if you think about it, how much time and energy you're going to put into this, when you probably could be calling some other prospects, or you could probably be calling on your current customers that love and trust you already, which we never do for some reason. And so I've even said, like, to clients, like, hey, do you think we're going to be able to get this done? And if not, should I just stop, should I stop calling on you, which is totally fine. I just need to know. And then you're going to get this, well, no, nah, and so at that point, I would really put a date on them to say, hey, look, I need to move on from this. And if we can't do something by, June 24th, then I'll just leave it up to you to call me back. And typically what could happen is that they don't want to lose the opportunity either. And so, one of the things that some of my sales training taught me is, people don't like to say no. They don't like to disappoint. And so you can use that to your advantage. Like, that's why people ghost you, is because they don't want to actually go face to face and say, I don't want to work with you.
Yeah.
That's why you get the email that says we're going in a different direction, which I hate. That's a cop out, man. I want you to just say, or ghost me for 3 weeks. I want you to say, look, man, I hate you. I don't think you're very good at your job, and I don't want to work with your company. Like, just tell me.
Yeah.
Like, rather than me having to text you and go, hey, like, I sent your proposal 3 weeks ago.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah. Like, I don't want to seem desperate.
No. Because I feel like what you're saying at this point, if I were to put this back into like a, summarize it, I've been through a game. I ain't got no time to waste. I'm mature enough. I'm just going to call an ace as an ace and just have you. Donald, It seems like this is not something that you're looking to move forward with. And it's okay. That's totally fine. And I'm sure, like, I feel your personality would say something like that and I wouldn't be offended. I'd be like, yeah, it's just that I didn't see the price, Brian. I didn't think it was going to be this much. I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't do that. I mean, like, that's great. And then typically what has happened in the past, like, hey, look, that's great. If you know anybody else that might be interested, they're probably going to do that anyway. Yeah. And then we've had them where they don't, and they're like, all of a sudden out of the blue, we'll get an email. Hey, we're ready. And so I like that tactic because it's better than just keep following up and they just ignore your email for whatever reason. Is just get them on there and just have a conversation with them and say, hey, look, I don't think this is going to go through. I've got a couple ideas, but if you don't think it's going to go through, that's fine.
I love this.
It's hard to do because you really want that sale, but at some point you just gotta say, hey, what would I rather do? I'd rather call, the 6 manufacturing clients that I know and just say, hey man, I think it's time to redo your video.
Yeah. And I feel like this episode is everything ties back to confidence, man, because that is like when you like we all seen it, we all have known it. When you know you're at the top of your game, when you feel confident in a moment, like you're not chasing anybody. Like you're not like you're just like, bro, you want to do business with us or not? And it's not being a smug or
Sure.
you're smug. It's just a simple fact. That's a aura that I give. I don't need this business. I don't need the opportunity. I
That
can
is
build something
powerful.
else. And when you're in that mode, it is a game changer. Like everybody wants you at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, but
Yeah,
it's the
that is a
confidence.
powerful.
It's the confidence.
Say it. I don't think I'd say to him like, look, man, I don't need this. But having that in your head, like, I don't need your work. Like, what? I don't need your money. I'll pay you to. Yeah. But I think having that
Yeah.
confidence level, and I think also the other thing
Yeah.
in your head, I think is really good to keep in mind is that if you truly believe in yourself,
Yeah.
which I think we do, and you truly believe in the product or service that you have to offer, they're doing a disservice to their company by not using you.
Yeah.
And I think if that's true, I think you sell to that all day
Yeah.
long.
We call that internally the moral obligation. Like
Yeah.
if I literally know you're making a wrong decision, it would be like malpractice for me not to tell you.
Yeah.
One of my trainers used to always say, when you know the deal is done and they're not going to go with you, just say, hey, can I give you some free consulting now? And then just explain, like,
Yeah.
even if you don't go with us, that's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
You can
Just
check
say,
out these
when
other
this
vendors.
happens.
But
Yeah.
when this happens, you're going to see this, and you're going to
Yeah.
know that I told you. But we've done that too many times.
Call me.
That's your free consulting.
Yeah. Call me.
Call me.
Yeah. And
Maybe I'll be busy.
Yeah. And I'll start with that because I know a lot of times it's really hard to, if they've already had experiences with marketing companies and typically it's been not great. I'll start with that. I'll be like, hey, look, we've heard that some marketing companies will do really good in the beginning and then not get hard to get a hold of. Here's how we fix that, just so you know.
Yeah. I absolutely love this. Brian, we were talking for a minute here. This is good. We had our mark, and I think there's a lot that we shared here, from the idea of visualization, the idea of confidence, imagine if strategy, being straightforward with people, being confident in yourself. If you were to wrap up this episode in one sentence for folks who just joined in, what's that one major piece of advice you'd have them leave with?
I think you are the one. I think that confidence level is all. I mean, I think knowing that simple fact that when you're in your best self, when you're in your best mood, your best mode, whatever it is, there's no one better.
I love it. I love it. This is good.
I need to go sell something now, man.
I know. Well, if folks out there listening want to get in touch with you, they're like, I like this guy's vibe. I like him. What's the best way for them to go about connecting with you?
Yeah, just go to bryantown.io.
Bryantown.
Pretty easy. Bryantown.io. It has all our links, agency, coaching, all that stuff. My new book, all that stuff's coming out.
New book. Tell me about the book.
Oh, yeah. So should be out. I'm hoping September 1st, but it's called The Lonely CEO.
The Lonely CEO. I like
that. And it's just about, all the stuff I messed up along the way. And, just those conversations that I think a lot of owners have. A lot of times they think they're all alone and they think that everyone's kind of doing better than them. And it's tough, man. It's tough running a business and it's tough bringing sales in. And I think, having just some strategies that I've found that work for me over the years, and then also not doing some of the dumb things I did, is going to be super helpful in the book.
Well, I'm loving this. I think it's fantastic, and I can't wait to see it. I'm going to put it in the show notes so folks can get access to it, and also link back to your website. Brian, I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much, man. And
yeah, me too, man. A lot of fun.
That was Brian Town. I'm telling you, he brought the goods to the town. Brian, thank you for coming on the show, and I'll see you in the Costco line. Listen, this episode was great, and not only the simple fact about the confidence idea, but just the story and how Brian was able to articulate how he's doing this. There are simple concepts that you can apply. Even if statement, that imagine if idea. I think that's one that was great that you could utilize, and then just calling the issue out. Like, you don't have time nowadays to waste. You don't have time at all to waste. So let's call out when we see an ace, call it out in an appropriate way. And I think you're going to find yourself having more deals moving faster. Don't be afraid of doing it. It took me a while, but don't waste that time. Let's make things happen. Speaking about making things happen, check out our sponsors. They have offers for you, for me, for her, for him, even for that dude over there. Yes, for you. There's deals for everyone, and I would love for you to check it out. Take advantage of them. And if you want to get help with your pipeline building, if you need help with the LinkedIn prospecting, check out our LinkedIn prospecting course. We have a new group starting in August, and it would be so cool to have you join us. Find more details in the show notes. Go to thesalesevangelist.com/LinkedIn to learn more as well. As always, I want you to thrive. I want you to succeed. I want you to build that pipe. I want you to close more deals. But most importantly, I want you to raise your level of thinking. Go out and do big things. See you on the next one.